2 years ago, I made what I thought was the ultimate Dreamcast. And then I got comments from you guys telling me that it needed more. So what did I do about that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. My Dreamcast sat there for almost 2 years until I put a budget HDMI mod in it a couple months ago. But a budget HDMI mod couldn't possibly work in the ultimate Dreamcast. So in today's video, I started from scratch and installed not only a higher end HDMI mod to make the games look even better, I also installed the GDEMU to run all of my games off of an SD card. And of course, there's more where that came from, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's start with how I did all of this and see if this is something you should try yourself. If you're just wanting to play all of your games off of an SD card, or even just swap your ratty old shell for a new one, I truly believe this is something anyone can do. All you need is a basic Phillips 2 screwdriver that almost everyone already has in their house. That's thanks to all the screws in the Dreamcast using the same size bit, except for the 2 screws for the fan needing a slightly smaller Phillips bit. Man, I wish I could say that about Nintendo's consoles. But anyways, you only need to remove the fan if you're swapping out the entire shell. However, the rest of the stuff I did will require soldering, like replacing the clock battery. I did this 1 because the battery was dead, but also 2 so whoever owns this console 25 years from now won't have to do any soldering when this battery inevitably dies. I also swapped the capacitor, fuse, and resistor while I was in here installing the new battery holder, but I think that was required since all of this came as a kit. And also due to the fact that this used to be a rechargeable coin cell battery and now it isn't. There's not much point to this being a rechargeable cell if it no longer works by the time the non-rechargeable cell would die anyway. I could have also changed the power LED to blue to match the console, but I like the contrast of the orange light. All of that does require some basic soldering skills, but I feel like most people can do that fairly easily. However, the HDMI mod is a whole other story. You're definitely going to want to be pretty comfortable with the soldering iron for this, because this mod is nearing the realm of micro soldering. Depending on how good your eyesight is, you might want to use a microscope or a magnifying glass to solder the ribbon cable to these chips. And even then, it's still tough. While I was able to do the budget version of this mod without my microscope, I did have a little more trouble with this one. I ended up bridging some of the components that I wouldn't have been able to spot without my microscope, so I was pretty thankful I have one. Overall, I wouldn't say that I struggled to do any of this, other than trying to find my mistakes, but if you want to watch me do this from start to finish, I have a full tutorial for everything over on the second channel, Jake64. It's a long one, just so you know, but I will have it linked down below and at the end in the cards. The real question you should be asking is, was all this worth it? Yes and no. For me, I absolutely love being able to load multiple games on an SD card and never have to worry about ruining my precious discs. Of course, only playing my legally obtained ROMs. And having the battery holder is a no-brainer for simple battery swaps down the road. I also love being able to see it all through this beautiful clear blue shell. However, as a RetroTink 5X Pro owner, I'm still on the side of external upscalers. While yes, it is expensive, I get the same or arguably better results without all of the trimming and soldering, and I can use it with multiple different retro consoles. Not to say that this HDMI mod isn't good, because it is. It's just that as much as I love the modding and tinkering, I'm also more of a work smarter, not harder kind of guy. But I do understand that a lot of people would rather have an HDMI built into their console instead of plugging it into another box before you connect it to your TV. The mod I used is unfortunately a clone of the DC Digital, which is a bit dated anyway. So if you're wanting to do an HDMI mod, I will link to the more relevant retro gem down below. As I mentioned earlier, I also did a budget HDMI mod a few months ago that you might want to go check out if you want to save a bit of money. In that video, I compare both HDMI mods to AV and the RetroTink 5X Pro if you want a deeper comparison than just this. Now, one notable mod that I left off of this ultimate Dreamcast was a new power supply. There are quite a few out there that are just drop-in replacements, some with barrel jacks and some even with USB-C. But honestly, I'm far from an expert in power supplies, so I just kept the original since it's still doing just fine. Plus, this project had a budget, and there were 3 other consoles I had to fit in that budget for the charity event. Because if you weren't aware, this console was sold for charity. I did also spend some time over on the second channel deep cleaning the controller and VMU, as well as retrobrighting the snot-colored plastic back to gray. It took many days, but it looks so much better. I'll link that video below as well if you're interested. The only other mod that I left out that I can think of was a new fan. But let's be real, it's not necessary, and again, I'm on a budget. So I guess this isn't the ultimate Dreamcast to some of you, but to me it is, and I really don't care what you think. Wait, no, actually I do. What do you guys think about all of this? Am I missing something? Let me know in those comments down below. This video isn't sponsored, but I just wanted to shout out Seneco for sponsoring the charity event and the unboxing video where we unboxed this console. But that's about it for me. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. I don't know where to include this in the video, but I also got this game included with the Dreamcast bundle I bought. So